Welcome back to the fifth recitation of CS170. Today's recitation will be about flowcharts and pseudocode. Before we start off, a gentle reminder to watch the previous recitations and answer the questions of the quiz because attendance will be marked based on it. Also, the quiz has to be submitted within a week from the time the recitation video was posted. So accordingly, watch the videos and answer the quiz questions. Moreover, be sure to submit the assignments on time and mention the honor code every time you submit the assignment. Otherwise, without the honor code, your assignment won't be graded. So now, coming to today's recitation, the objective is to know the basics of flowchart and pseudocode. And the topics that will be covered today will be flowcharts, under which we will look into the building blocks of flowchart and how we can create a flowchart. Then we will move on to knowing about pseudocodes, and then finally look into flowcharts and pseudocode examples. So flowchart is a graphical representation of an algorithm. Programmers often use it as a program planning tool to solve a problem, and it uses symbols which are connected among themselves to indicate a flow of information or processing. To create a flowchart, various symbols are used as shown in the diagram here, and each of these symbols have unique functions. So we'll start with the first shape, which is the oval, and it represents start or the end point. It basically depicts like a terminal point. A terminal is like the first and the last symbol in the flowchart. Then after that, we have the arrow, which is basically a line showing relationship between the different shapes that are there in the flowchart. Then we have the parallelogram, which denotes any function of input and output type. That is program instructions that take input from input devices and displays output on output devices are indicated with parallelogram in a flowchart. Then we have the next shape, which is the rectangle, and it represents a process. All arithmetic processes such as adding, subtraction, multiplication, division are indicated by the action or the process symbol, which is a rectangle. Then we have the diamond. The diamond represents a decision point. So a decision, like decision-based operations such as yes or no questions or true or false are indicated by diamond in the flowchart. A connector is depicted using a small circle. Whenever flowchart becomes more complex or it spreads over more than one page, it is useful to use these connectors to avoid any confusion. So these are the building blocks of the flowchart. Like just to revise, we have the oval symbol, then we have the arrow, the parallelogram, the rectangle, the diamond, and the small circle. Now let's create flowcharts. So we will start off by going to this website called diagrams.net. So you can either click on the link or on your address bar of the browser, you can type app.diagrams.net. And when the screen opens, you can just click on create a new diagram. Let's try and do that. So we have the website. Just click on create new diagram. Over here, let the extension .xml be the way it is, and just give a name to the file. So I'll just give it diagram1, and we'll select a blank diagram and create. You just use the root folder. So just say yes, create. And then once it is created, you can see this canvas over here. So if you go on the left hand side, you can see the general category. Inside the general category, there are many shapes that can be used. So like we have rectangle, then rounded rectangle, circle, cylinder, and parallelogram, and so on and so forth. If you go down to flowcharts, you can see flowchart symbols that are used. So like we have the decision, for decision, we have the diamond over here. So accordingly, like for the terminator, which is an oval shape, we have this sign over here. So for flowchart also, the symbols are mentioned on the left sidebar. Along with that, if you need arrows, arrows are mentioned inside the general category. So whenever any of the shapes are to be used, suppose we need to use the rectangles, you just drag the shape and drop it here. If you have to use the decision diamond, you just drag it and drop it here. So this is how the shapes are dragged and dropped. The size of the shape can be increased or it can be decreased however we want. Then in case we have to write anything inside the shape, we can just double click on the shape and then write whatever is needed. So like here, you can again double click and write the content. Uh, the symbols can also be filled with a background color. So if you just click on the symbol and over here, you can see a fill color icon. It's like a paint box. So if you click on it and then you can select whichever color you want to fill. I've just randomly selected a shade of blue and then it fills the color inside of it. So like this, the color filling can also be done. In fact, right now the outline is in black color. You can change the outline also if you go in, if you select on line color and if, let me just select pink and apply, and you can see that the line color has also changed. So like this, you can fill the color and also change the line color. Now, if you go to, so for now, all the changes are saved in the drive. In case they are not saved, then you can just go to File and click on Save. If you click on it, then it will save your diagram. And once you're done with creating your flowchart, you can always export the flowchart in any format that you want. For that, you can go to File and then click on export as, and then you can choose any of these. So if you want it in the form of images, you can choose PNG or JPEG. If you want a PDF, you can use a PDF. So it can be exported in any format that you need. And the last thing would be, in case you want to open an existing file of a flowchart, then you can open it from these various softwares, that is like Google Drive, OneDrive, GitHub, or you can open it from the recent also. And that's how you can, that's like all the functionalities, the main functionalities that are needed. And let's move on. So this is how the flowcharts are created. Moving on, we have pseudocode. So pseudocode is an algorithm that may be derived from a flowchart. The pseudocode will become a computer program by using the appropriate syntax of a programming language. So it is basically lines, or it's like lines of code, like telling you how like the algorithm is working. So, I mean, like, let's look into examples, and like using these examples, we create a flowchart and write the pseudocode also. This way we'll understand how the things work. So the first example is, uh, it says that a company needs to calculate the taxes that it needs to pay for its last year earnings. The earnings are the difference between the revenues and the expenses. So the tax rate is 20% if the earnings are less than $500,000. Otherwise, the tax rate is 30%. Flowchart and pseudocode needs to be created for this. So the question uh, is pretty straightforward and self-explanatory. So we'll just look into how we can create a flowchart for that. So let's just go to this page and clear everything out. Okay, we have cleared everything. I'll just change this to example 1. Yeah, I've cleared everything. And now let's try to make a flowchart. So the flowchart is going to look something like this. We will start creating it and see how it goes. So first we'll put a start symbol on top and place the word start inside. So for that we will need a circle. Okay, so we'll just take an oval shape, put it here, and yeah, you can change the color if you want. It'll be that. So we'll have the start symbol first. You can also change the font size. You can make it bold. You can change the font size from the right hand side bar. So I'm just gonna keep it in 14 and bold. Okay, so first in the flowchart we'll have a start symbol. Then the next thing that we have to do is we have to take the inputs. So over here the inputs in this example are revenues and expenses. So we are going to take the inputs. For inputs we'll need to use the parallelogram. So let's just do that. We'll take a parallelogram from here. We need one for revenue and we need one for expenses. So here we'll take revenue, and here we have expenses. So we have revenue and we have expenses. So now we have taken the inputs also. The next thing is that we have to calculate the earnings. So we will insert a process symbol and then we'll write calculate earnings inside of it. So that's a process. We'll just do that. Let's write calculate earnings. So it's a process and therefore it is depicted with a rectangle. Now, after this is done, the next thing after the earnings are calculated, a decision has to be made. That is, if we have to see if the earning is less than $500,000, and then accordingly, if it is less than $500,000, then whatever the problem statement says, we have to do that. Otherwise, we have to. So we have like an yes and no option over here. So we will just write. We will take a decision, like we make a diamond now and write it down. Let's make a diamond and write that down. I'm just going to increase the size of this. Yep. So we'll write earnings then $500,000. Okay, that's the question. So now here we have like two choices. Either it could be less than $500,000 or it could be more than $500,000. So if if it is less than $500,000, then the taxes is going to be earnings into 20%, and otherwise it's going to be earnings into 30%. So accordingly, let's make two branches now. We'll make two. So let's just add the arrows also along with it. So we have the directional. We could just we can just add the. So if you want to connect these shapes, you can just click on one end and then put it down. So like that, they're going to be connected. So let's just connect it with the arrows. And we're done. So now the arrows are connected. Now from this decision, two arrows will go. So we'll have, let's just make two rectangles here for the process. One rectangle here, one rectangle here. And basically two arrows go. One will go here and the other one will go here. Okay, so if it is, let's like add a text. If the earnings is less than $500,000, then it will go to this branch, and if it is not, then it will go to this branch. So if it is if the earning is less than $500,000, then taxes will be earnings into 20%. So let's just write here earnings, just write taxes is equal to earnings into 20%. And here it's going to be earnings into 30%. So now we have made the two branches. Now we'll need an output, and the output will be like the taxes, and we'll just have to display the taxes. So now we'll use a small connector over here. And just connected. This will give us an output. So we need like a parallelogram because parallelogram is used for outputs. And here we can write display taxes. So that will be our output, and join it with the arrow. With this, we have the output, and then last thing to do is to stop it. So we'll just, and we can write stop here, and then join it with an arrow. So like with this, we have made the flowchart for the example one, and let's just go through it. So we start, then we take two inputs, that is revenue and expenses, and because we're taking inputs, it's represented with a parallelogram. Then we have to calculate the earnings, and since it's a process that we're doing, it is in represented using a rectangle. After the earnings are calculated, decision has to be made as to if the earnings are less than $500,000. If it is less than $500,000, it goes to the first branch where it calculates the taxes as earnings into 20%. And if the earnings are not less than $500,000, then it calculates the taxes as earnings into 30%. And now the small connector is used because the last two processes that are there, they combine into like one output. So like you get from these two processes, it displays an output, and since it's an output, it is depicted using a parallelogram. After the taxes are displayed, the algorithm stops. So this is how the flowchart is for the problem. So you can see over here, the same thing is done. You have the start, revenue, expenses, and so on and so forth. The Now we have the pseudocode. So the pseudocode is written as follows. The pseudocode will be written taking into reference how the flowchart is made. So it starts with taking in the inputs, namely the revenue and the expenses, and therefore we say read revenue and read expenses. After we have the inputs, we are computing the earnings, and the earnings are computed as revenue minus the expenses. Once we have the earnings, we can compare it with $500,000 and see that if it is less than $500,000, then the taxes can be computed as earnings into 20%. Else, it is computed as earnings into 30%. And because we started the if statement, you write end if to like end the if else, and once we have the value of the taxes, you just display the taxes and you stop the algorithm. So this is how we write the pseudocode, and we come to an end to the first example. Now let's try doing the second example. So the example here deals with ordering food. The problem which is there is already defined as steps. It's shown in the form of steps. The process of billing starts and the input is taken. The input is the food order like burgers and pizzas. Then the cost is calculated in such a way that each burger costs $5 and each pizza costs $8. Now, after the cost is calculated, the decision is processed. If the total cost is like if the total cost is more than $10, then a free coupon is given. And finally, the total cost is displayed and the process ends. So this is how the flowchart is. Now we'll try creating a new flowchart. So we go to File, we can click on New and just give a new name. I'll just name it Example 2. Just a second there. Yep. Example 2 and create it. So now again, we start the algorithm. We have the start. So we write start. Then after starting the algorithm, we have to take the input. So we need to know how many burgers are ordered and how many pizzas are ordered. So we have two inputs. The first is burgers and the second is pizzas. Now, after we have the inputs, we can do the computation. So the computation will be to calculate the total cost. So the total cost is equal to the number of burgers into the cost of each burger, which is $5, and the number of pizzas into the cost of pizzas, which is $8. Now, once we have computed it, now it's time to make the decision. So remember to put the arrows. Let's just put the arrows too. And okay, so now we have to make the decision. So we'll take the diamond. The decision is to see if the total cost is greater than $10. And now we have two choices. Either it could be yes or it could be no. So we have two choices. Let's make two rectangles for that. Okay, so one goes here and the other goes here. Okay, so either the total cost could be greater than $10 or no. So in case if the total cost is greater than $10, then according to the question, we have to provide free coupon. And if it is not, then we just, and if it is not, so like the output for the yes case is given, but for no, nothing is given. So basically, if the total cost is greater than $10, then you provide the free coupon and you display the total cost. And if it is not, then you just directly display the total cost. So instead of putting the rectangle, we'll just put a parallelogram for output, and right here display total cost. And we know that even if you get a free coupon, after that you have to display the total cost. Okay, after displaying the total cost, the algorithm stops. So we write stop and we join it. So this is our pseudocode for the question. For the example too, it's present over here also. You start, you take the inputs, burgers and pizzas, you calculate the total cost, and then check if the total cost is greater than 10. If it is greater than 10, then a free coupon is provided, and then the total cost is displayed. If it is not, then directly the total cost is displayed. And coming to the pseudocode, you start, you read the inputs, that is, you read the number of burgers and the number of pizzas. Then you compute total cost as number of burgers into the cost of one burger, which is $5, and number of pizzas into cost of one pizza, which is $8. If the total cost is greater than $10, then a free coupon is provided, and the if statement is terminated using endif. Finally, the total cost is displayed and the algorithm stops. Now we come to our third example, which is store discount. Now this is the last example. So let's read what it is. A store offers a discount for their silver and gold members. Those with a gold card obtain a discount of 20%, while silver card holders get a 10% discount. And no discount is offered to those who are not card holders. Now this is the example, and we have to create a flowchart and a pseudocode for this. So let's get to it. We'll create a new file and I will name it example 3. Now we will start our algorithm. So we write start. Then after start, we have to take the inputs. So here the input is going to be, first we need to know what is the card holder category. After we know the card holder category, just a second. Yeah, we know the card holder category. The next input that we need is the membership type. Let membership type. Now we have taken the inputs that we need. The next thing is we have to know that if he's a card holder or not. If he is a card holder, then we have to check if he is a gold member or not. So let's do that. Let's make a decision tree and write card holder. So if the person is a card holder, and put the arrows too, if the person is a card holder, then we have to check if the person is a gold member or not. So if the person is a card holder, so we have, yes, the person is a card holder. If the person is a card holder, then we have to check if the person is a gold member. And okay, so if the person is a card holder, we check if the person is a gold member. If the person is not a card holder, then we know that no discount is given. So we can just directly write discount is equal to 0%. Discount is equal to 0%. Yeah. So now we know. And if the person is a gold member, now if the person is a gold member, we can have two choices. Yes, the person is a gold member, and no, is not a gold member. If the person is not a gold member, then we just give a discount of 10%. We can just write no, discount of 10%. And if the person is a gold member, then the person gets a discount of 20%. So we can just write here yes, and we write this is equal to 20%. Now once now all the decisions have been made, now we just have to display the output. So let's use the connector to this. Yep, done this, and we'll use another small connector to join the output of this and this. This will just display the discount and we end, that is, we stop our algorithm. So this is how the flowchart is made for this example. Let's go through it again. We start, we get the inputs, that is, we get the cardholder category and the membership type. Then we check if the person is a cardholder or not. If the person is not a cardholder, directly the discount is 0%. If the person is a cardholder, then we check how is the membership, that is, if it's he or she is a gold member or not. If the person is not a gold member, then the discount is 10%. Otherwise, the discount is 20%. Now, finally, using small connectors, the outputs are connected and we display the discount and then the algorithm ends. Now, this is the pseudocode for the same flowchart that we made. You start, then we read the cardholder category and check if the cardholder category is equal to true, then we check if the gold member is also equal to true, that is, if the person is a card holder and is also a gold member, then the discount is 20%, else the discount is only 10%. And when you come out of this if else loop, if the person is not a card holder at all, then the discount is 0%. And finally the discount is displayed. So this is the pseudocode. And with this, like, we come to an end for the recitation. The Google form link is given over here. So kindly answer the questions before the 5th of October to be marked for the attendance. And thank you very much. Have a good day.